And then we have our co-champion of the week. And I don't know if she's walking out with the Impact World title tonight or not, but if she does not, at least she's getting one title here. And that is Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard lost to Sami Callihan a few months ago in a match that I thought was damn good. And I have said that I would not at all mind if she was the one to beat Sami and take the world title at their Hard To Kill pay-per-view tonight. Obviously, I don't follow Impact week to week like I did many years ago, but I've been keeping up with the Tessa stuff. I talked about the clip that racked up all those views last week, the New York City street brawl that they had, where the brawl that spilled out into the streets, and it was very well done. It was a pretty cool brawl. All to build up to this match on pay-per-view tonight. I was in the car yesterday, and I heard something for the first time that I had never heard before. I heard a radio ad locally here in New York for an Impact pay-per-view. I don't remember the last time I heard any kind of mainstream advertising like that, at least here in the New York market, for any TNA or Impact-related event. So they've been going hard, really trying to promote this match and promote this show very hard tonight. And then on Saturday, one day before said pay-per-view, and I don't know if anything specific prompted this tweet or not. It seemed kind of random that she would just throw it out there, but Tessa decided to take to Twitter and say this. She said, "Hey women, try supporting one another. Cool things happen." And with those 9 words, it's been a very long time. I'm sure I've seen this before because Twitter has it's killed careers, it's hurt careers, but it's been a very long time since I have seen a wrestler burn themselves to the ground with one simple click on that little red button that says tweet. This led to multiple wrestlers, multiple female stars from all different promotions. WWE, NXT, AEW, MLW, people from all over came forward to talk about what an awful person Tessa Blanchard was to them, relaying their own story or backing up other awful stories that they've heard or that they maybe witnessed themselves. Starting with the NWA Women's Champion. Really what got the ball rolling on this was a reaction tweet from Allison Kay, the former Sienna from Impact Wrestling, who lobbed this bomb at Tessa. She said, "Remember when you spat in a black woman's face and called her the N-word in Japan? Was that you supporting women?" The audacity of this tweet. Chelsea Green of NXT, and we've actually seen her even recently on Monday Night Raw, another Impact alum, she co-signed that tweet about the incident in Japan, and then she had her own thoughts on Tessa's tweet. She said, "You've consistently put down, bullied, and belittled countless female co-workers, including me. Is that support?" Tessa replied to her and says, "I've never been anything but kind to you. I have dealt with mean girls since I started. Not saying I'm a saint. Hell, I've had my ups and downs, and I've made silly decisions. Such is life. You have zero merit in your comments. Instead of putting me down here for a little clout, you've got my number." So she's calling Chelsea Green a clout chaser. And then the only other comment that she has made about all of this is to say, "Not true. That's my statement, and the most attention I will give it because of how actually ridiculous it is." Now, if it was she said with her and Allison, it would still be troubling to hear, an accusation like that. I've never heard that story before about the incident in Japan. But okay, fine. It's one person's word against Tessa's. Who knows? Maybe Allison Kay, is just not a fan of hers or whatever. It's one person. But then the wrestler who was allegedly spat on and called the N-word came forward to confirm the story. La Rosa Negra, I believe is the name that she goes by, Black Rose. She's a veteran. She's been wrestling for well over a decade, even longer than that from what I saw, well over 15 years. She thanked Allison and Chelsea for stepping forward with their comments and says that the incident happened in Japan back in 2017. And Big Swole chimed in. Big Swole, who just got signed by AEW. And if you only watch WWE or NXT, she was part of, I think, the last Mae Young Classic. She's Cedric Alexander's wife. But she just got signed to a deal with AEW. She chimed in with this. She said, "Since we're telling stories, Big Swole's turn. I won't speak on all the other stories, but the one about La Rosa I know personally. This past year at WrestleCade, I spoke to her about this and about hashing it out with Tessa. I've spoken to Tessa as well after talking with La Rosa, and I decided it needed to be dealt with. A conversation needed to happen because this was getting intense over the years. As a black woman, this sickened me that this happened to a friend of mine. We have been dealing with this since it happened. It's just now finding light on social media. People are entitled to deal with this how they want. I just want the world to know the last part of the story." So here's the problem. To take Tessa at her word, and boy, have some people really just, they don't want to hear any of this stuff. They come out, I've gotten comments in my own replies, fake news, there's no proof. Yeah, because there's no cell phone video, it never happened. I mean, I remember growing up and going to school and reading about Abraham Lincoln being shot, but you know what? I didn't see video of it, so I guess it didn't happen. I mean, hell, for all I know, Lincoln can still be out there. Because there's no footage. I didn't see it. You didn't see it. Who's to say it happened? So, been a lot of comments like that, a lot of dumb comments. And I get it when people say, look, you can't just take what these people say at face value right off the bat and just bury Tessa and not give her a chance to either defend herself, or maybe other people step forward and say, well, that story isn't exactly accurate. Like, I'm not saying jump on the woman, let's cancel Tessa and all this other stuff, but just the immediate comments. And as more and more names came out, people just, in some cases, didn't want to hear it. Nope, they're all jealous. They're all chasing clout. No footage, no proof. So therefore it didn't happen. A lot of people really exposing themselves. But here's the problem. To take Tessa at her word that this never happened, which is what she said, right? Never happened. To do that is to call all of these other women liars. And that becomes a lot harder to do the more voices that come forward and speak out about what happened here, including the person in question who allegedly got spat on and called the N-word. Now that we know who it was. Isla Dawn from NXT UK reacted to Tessa's initial tweet. As someone who experienced your bullying firsthand, received regular verbal abuse, was spat on, and is person number 2 who claims to have been spat on by her, had rumors spread about me, dealt with multiple attempts by you to blacklist me from other companies and more, I just pray you now follow your own advice. Shanna from AEW. She did more nasty stuff in Japan. Never forget. Practice what you preach, sweetheart. I stand by La Rosa. She's a fun-loving person who would never disrespect anyone. Much love to you, Rosa. The former Rebel from TNA. I like to think people change over time, but I can confirm the bad behavior and non-supportive attitude. In Japan, I was there. Priscilla Kelly from MLW. Remember publicly putting me down on Twitter last year for something that didn't involve you whatsoever, then continuing to drag my name to other people for it? Pepperidge Farm remembers. You should probably delete this tweet. There was another wrestler, a retired wrestler named Tara Calloway, in reference to Tessa. She had this to say. That time that somebody got into a legit fight in a battle royal, came to the locker room after and told every single female that they were trash, then got into another legit fight in the locker room. Because that was fun. And apparently poor Chris Dickinson had to break up that fight. Casey Michael of the Squared Circle Sirens website, who's kind of known as somebody who's broken a lot of stories before about the ladies, all over wrestling really, but, at the Performance Center, NXT, he's broken a lot of stories before. Casey Michael chimed in. He says she bullied Renee Michelle at an indie show, and they had a tussle of some sort. Renee Michelle is the wife of Drake Maverick. Tweet after tweet, and there may have been others that I missed for all I know. Those are just the ones that I saw. But the Japan story, look, All these other stories about you bullied me, you did this, you did that. It sounds horrible to hear, but let's not get away from what the real story here is, which is this Japan story. That's the most disturbing. That she would spit on somebody and call them the N-word. That's not something that you just dismiss. That's not something that you just sweep under the rug. But predictably, I saw a lot of the usual tweets. People change. They grow. They evolve. Sometimes, yeah, but she's not being accused of doing this as a 12-year-old. This allegedly happened in 2017. Barely 3 years ago. Another take I saw, how convenient that all of this comes out and they pile on this woman the day before the biggest match of her life, where she's probably going to win the Impact World Championship. What these people fail to understand is that the only reason any of this even happened in the first place is because Tessa decided now would be a good time for me to go ahead and tweet about how women should be supportive of other women. That's what started all of this. She brought this all on herself because she obviously hasn't done a good job of practicing what she preaches. Or else she wouldn't have had half a dozen women come forward with stories about all the awful, nasty things that Tessa Blanchard has done to, quote, support them. That's why they came out in the first place. If she would have just kept her mouth shut and not said anything, none of this would have ever happened. Not when it did. Maybe eventually this would have come out. But it wouldn't have come out yesterday, one right after the other like that. She has absolutely nobody to blame for this but herself. It'd be like Jeffrey Dahmer if he was alive and on Twitter telling people they should all become vegetarians. I'm sure he would be dragged for that statement, and rightfully so. They found it hypocritical, and so they decided to speak up. That's what happened. That's the only reason that any of these women said anything when they did. It's not some grand conspiracy between all of these women. They all plotted and coordinated and came together. All these women from different promotions who in some cases may not even know each other. They, conspired? They had a fucking WhatsApp chat going. Hey, let's, on this day, on Saturday at 2 p.m., let's all come out. I'll start it and you guys just follow suit. No. Put the tinfoil hats down. That's not how this worked. They weren't plotting for weeks in advance to do what they did. The stories about her attitude are not anything new. They were around after the first Mae Young Classic when WWE opted not to sign her when she lost in the first round, which was pretty shocking. But she lost, I think, to Kairi Sane, if I remember, and she got bounced from the tournament, and she was never signed. The obvious question was, as talented as she is, why didn't WWE snatch her up when they had the chance? But that story, if it went down the way that it appears it may have gone down, and it became a lot harder to not believe it after multiple people came out to confirm it, then that's just disgusting. And she's going to have to answer for it at some point beyond refusing to answer because it's so ridiculous. That answer doesn't cut it. I mean, this is a serious accusation that's being made against her character. I mean, are you saying that Big Swole is lying? She's making up a story that she's been in touch with Rosa and with Tessa? Are you calling her a liar? That's basically what you're doing. If you're just going to automatically dismiss everyone's accusations, then they're all just a bunch of liars. They're all just a bunch of jealous haters. You can see why it becomes more and more difficult to just take what Tessa is saying at face value. If I were her, and it really did never happen, if I were her and somebody claimed that I did something awful like that, I would not let something like that slide so easily. Now, do I think that this is going to affect the outcome of tonight's championship match? I really don't. And I still think she's going to win the title. Look, maybe she wasn't going to win the title anyway before any of this happened. There's no guarantee that she's going to win the championship. I think she is. I thought she was, and I still think she is. The crowd reaction is going to be very interesting to watch. It may have no effect at all. And if it doesn't, then I guess she can get away with ignoring it for a while. But this is not just going to go away. The next time she does an interview or something, it's going to come up. If it didn't happen, speak up. Speak up and tell people this didn't happen. Here's why. Or here's what really happened. So she's going to have to address it again at some point. She's not going to get away with just posting one tweet and it goes away. Poof, it vanishes. That's not how this works. She will be put on the spot at some point to have to address it, and she's going to have to. And to deny it is to call multiple colleagues of hers liars. And I am just finding it very difficult to believe that all of these women, including the victim in question, decided to just manufacture a horrible story like that out of thin air. For what? For what purpose? Jealousy? Please. Tessa may end up making history this weekend, but this is not a story that's going to just go away, and it's all because of one sad tweet. A tweet that she herself sent. She told women to support each other and that cool things will happen. Well, guess what? They did support each other. It just wasn't in the way that she would have liked.